Hey, what's up? Dave here, and in this quick video I want to show you how you can drastically improve the reliability of your LLM apps by introducing some very simple yet practical evaluation techniques that you can do straight in your codebase. And they're based on a few assertion-based unit tests. So let's dive in. Alright, so I'm here inside Cursor and I'm going to show you some practical examples to show you how you can set this up yourself. I'm also going to link the following article with you, which, by the way, is one of the most amazing articles written on practical tips to improve your LLM application. So make sure to check that out as well. I will link it in the description. But mainly this section over here, 1.41, create a few assertion-based unit tests from real input-output samples, is something that has really completely changed the way we approach our LLM projects. And this week, we launched an LLM application for one of our clients. It's a customer support automation tool using LLMs. And we launched during the Black Friday craziness that is going on right now. And the tips that I'm about to show you here right now has really saved the day for us in terms of being able to put the system on live mode safely while ensuring that everything keeps running smoothly. So whenever you're working with LLMs, what you want to do is you want to capture some real-world input data samples from essentially the system or the place where the data is coming from that you want to feed into your system. So throughout this video, I'm going to show you some examples from a recent demo project that we did. So this is in the customer care context, but you could think of a ticketing system where new tickets in the form of emails are coming in. So you can see there is an from email to email, where you have a sender, and I have various examples in here. So asking for an invoice, a policy question, and this should really be the first starting point when you're trying to build apps with large language models. Gather some data and try to understand the type of requests that are coming into your system. Now, this could be data from an API or a webhook like you're seeing over here, but it could also, of course, be prompts from a user. So then the data essentially is a lot more simple, but it could be way more complex in terms of what people can ask. So once you have some of that data in place, what you then want to do is you want to start working on your logic to, of course, process this data using your LLM and then come to your desired output. So with all of our projects right now, we are still using Instructor to get structured output from large language models. I will show you in a bit what that looks like if you are not familiar with this topic. So what I'm going to do, and for some context, what's going on behind the scenes and the processing steps is not that relevant. So I can essentially take the pipeline over here and start to process this invoice. So we have a bunch of steps in between where it's going to do some analysis, and then it's going to either route the message to one way or another based on some data that we are collecting. So I'm processing this right now, and I can now look at the output that I have over here. And now this is a pydantic model that we're getting back straight from OpenAI because we're leveraging the Instructor library. So here we can now see that on this output, we have the raw data, but we also have some processing steps that we applied. So here you can see we analyze the ticket and we have an intent in here. We have a confidence interval. And this is essentially all because I specified that in a previous step where I essentially said, okay, we're going to analyze the tickets and this is what I want to get from it. I want to get the intent, the confidence, whether it should escalate or not. And again, the specific use case here doesn't really matter for understanding this video as a whole, but rather the approach that I'm trying to take here. So we start with the data, then we introduce our processing steps using structured output, and then our system essentially gives back an output. And one of those outputs in here, for example, is the analyzed ticket. So let's now look at the nodes and look at the analyzed ticket response model and see what is in there. So now over here, we have some data that we can work with to create our evaluations. And what I can now do is I can write an assert and then paste the response model in here. And then, for example, we can check whether the customer intent, for example, is equal to the billing invoice. So let's see what that looks like if we run this. And if you're not familiar with assert in Python, what it essentially will do, if the value in here is true, it will just run and it won't give you an error. But if we, for example, inverse it and this statement is not true, then it will give an error. So this is typically what you use when you're setting up unit tests. But the interesting thing here is that unit tests are typically used to validate certain logic within your application flow, really at the function and variable level. But it is also a really great way to assess and validate the output of large language models when you are using structured output. So now we have a first assertion. But in this article over here, they also say, hey, don't start with 1, start with at least 3. And while that might seem a little bit arbitrary, it's a practical number to start with. So what we can do, we can essentially extend this and see, okay, what else is our system capturing? And for example, we have the escalation that we can also put an assert on. So the escalate variable is in this case false, meaning that for this system, our AI has determined that this ticket that is coming in should not be escalated to a human agent. So this is false. So what we can then do is we can say assert not, and then this will run. And let's see, the final thing that we have is a confidence interval. So I can also come in here and now let's say take the confidence interval. So instead of escalate, we say dot confidence, and we can, for example, put a threshold in here. So right now the LLM is providing us with a confidence interval of 0.95, but we could give it a little more slack over here, for example, depending on what you want, but let's put it to 0.9, and now this will also run. So what we can now do with this and how we use this inside of our projects, we really split the core logic of the application and we keep that in a dedicated folder. Typically that would be an app folder that you see over here. And in this case, I'm using a folder that's called the playground, but you could also create something where, for example, you could call it evals and store all of that logic in here. And the main goal here is that you want to keep it separated from where you keep all the code of your main application. But then while you're testing, make sure that you use some data examples that you can also store in your project in the form of simple JSON files. And then make sure as you are tweaking the system, as you are making changes, and especially to prompts, that you keep coming back to these assertions. And right now I have just one example over here. So for example, I know that given this setup, I expect if I run all of this, so let me start this up one more time, and I essentially get the event and I run my AI system. That's what's going on right here. What I should now be able to do is just run this and I shouldn't get an error. And so if I would get an error, again, if I would swap it out and run this, I can instantly see, okay, there's something wrong. And I can also see where this is going wrong. And now where this starts to get really interesting is if you don't just have one example with one JSON schema, but have a couple. So you could, for example, take 5 or 10. Take as much data really as possible, and every time you make major changes to your application, make sure to run all of this again. So now I am doing this manually here right now, but you could also, of course, create a script and create functions for each and every file, and then just loop over it and validate and check those results. Make sure that you don't get any assertion errors, because then you know that something in your prompting or your application logic changed that is causing right now new requests to, for example, not be correctly classified as billing invoice, or the confidence score is dropping. And now this is really the starting point of setting up a proper evaluation system. And you can do much more than this, and also make sure that you integrate your observability platform. So for example, we use Langfuse, self-hosted version, fully open source, to also monitor all of these traces and these calls that you make to the API. And if you combine those two, and then also create more formal, larger scale evaluation data sets, that will put you in a much better spot to ensure that you can manage your LLM applications at scale. But from a developer perspective, being in your code base and tweaking the prompts, I found that really having 10 files or so like this, where you can quickly iterate over and test and check if everything is still in check, is really, really convenient to do so. So make sure to check this out. If you're not familiar with Instructor, I highly recommend to look into that as well. and this article. I will link it in the description. Make sure you fully read it through. It's packed with gold. And now if you want to get access to this entire project that we have over here, which is essentially our boilerplate at Datalumina for building event-driven LLM applications, then you can check out the link in the description to the Launchpad. We made this entire project available for you. So if that's your thing, you can check it out. There's a whole architecture. So it's not only the code base, but it's also the deployment and infrastructure that is included. And we use it for all our projects for our clients right now. All right, and then that's it for this video. It's getting really dark here, by the way, and I also hope you don't mind the mess. We just moved into a new office and we're still working on that. And then to wrap up, if you're a developer and you want to get started with freelancing but don't really know where to start or struggle to find clients, you might want to check out the first link in the description. It's a video of me going over how my company can help you with this. We have a program called Data Freelancer. We've helped over 100 developers make the leap into freelancing. Now, in all transparency, this is a funnel designed to get leads for my company, just so you know that, but you might want to check it out. And then if you want to see more and want to learn even more about how to build applications with LLM apps, make sure to check out this video next. In this video, I cover everything that I know about essentially getting structured output from LLMs.